Good day po. I'm Sarah Bilativio, and today I'm going to talk about protozoa, the living soil. So protozoa are single-celled animals that use a variety of means to move about in the soil. Like bacteria and many fungi, they can be seen only with the help of a microscope. So they are mainly secondary consumers of organic materials, feeding on bacteria, fungi, other protozoa, and organic molecules dissolved in the soil water. So protozoa, through their grazing on nitrogen-rich organisms, especially bacteria and waste excretions, are believed to be responsible for mineralizing or releasing nutrients from organic molecules, much of the nitrogen in agricultural soils. Protozoa are classified into three groups based on their shape. So first, ciliates are the largest and move by means of hair-like cilia. So they eat the other two types of protozoa as well as bacteria. Amoebae also can be quite large and move by means of a temporary foot or pseudopod. Amoebae are further divided into twisted amoebae, which make a shell-like covering, and naked amoebae without a covering. So the last class protozoa, flagellates are the smallest of the protozoa and use a few whip-like flagella to move. um, Mineralization and immobilization. So protozoa play an important role in mineralizing nutrients, making them available for use by plants and other soil organisms. Protozoa and nematodes have a lower concentration of nitrogen in their cells than the bacteria they eat. So the ratio of carbon to nitrogen for protozoa is 10 by 1 or much more, and 3 by 1 to 10 by 1 for bacteria. So bacteria eaten by protozoa contain too much nitrogen for the amount of carbon protozoa need. They release the excess nitrogen in the form of ammonium or the NH4 plus. This usually occurs near the root system of a plant. Bacteria and other organisms rapidly take up most of the ammonium, but some is used by the plant. So another role that protozoa play is in regulating bacteria populations. So when they graze on bacteria, protozoa stimulates growth of the bacterial population, and in return, decomposition rates and soil aggregation. So exactly why this happens is under some debate. But grazing can be thought of like pruning a tree. A, some, uh, a small amount enhances growth, too much reduces growth or will modify the mix of species in the bacterial community. So protozoa are also an important food source for other soil organisms and help to suppress disease by competing with or feeding on pathogens. So where are protozoa? So protozoa need bacteria to eat and water in which to move. So moisture plays a big role in determining which types of protozoa will be present and active. So like bacteria, protozoa are particularly active in the rhizosphere next to the roots. So in the pictures show the protozoa or the bacteria. So Typically, numbers of protozoa in soils vary widely, so far from 1,000 per teaspoon in low fertility soils to 1,000,000 per teaspoon in some highly fertile soils. So fungal dominated soils, like for example in the forests, tend to have more tasted amoebae and ciliates than other types. So in bacterial dominated soils, flagellates and naked amoebae predominate. So in general, high clay content soils contain a higher number of smaller protozoa, flagellates, and naked amoebae. So while coarser textures soils contain more large flagellates, amoebae of both varieties, and ciliates. So nematodes and protozoa. Protozoa and bacterial feeding nematodes compete for their common food resource, so which is the bacteria. So some soils have high numbers of either nematodes or protozoa, but not both. The significance of this difference to plants is not known. So both groups consume bacteria and release ammonium ion. So the general characteristics of protozoa. So first characteristics is habitat. So habitat, protozoa are found in the aquatic environment. They live in fresh water or oceans. So some are free living and some are parasitic in plants and animals. Mostly they are aerobic, but some are anaerobic and present in the rumen or human intestine. Some of these species are found in extreme environments like hot springs. Some of them form resting cysts to overcome dry environments. So the next characteristics is size and shape. So the size and shape of protozoa varied greatly, from microbial to large enough and can be seen by the naked eye. So the shell of unicellular foraminifera can have a diameter of 20 cm. So they lack a rigid cell wall, so they are flexible and found in various shapes. So cells are enclosed in a thin plasma membrane. So some of the species have a hard shell in the outer surface. In some of the protozoans, especially in ciliates, the cell is supported by pellicle, which may be flexible or rigid and give organisms the definite shape and help in locomotion. So cellular structures. They are unicellular, having a eukaryotic cell. The metabolic functions are performed by some specialized internal structures. So they mostly have one membrane-bound nucleus in the cell. The nucleus has diffused appearance due to scattered chromatin. So the vesicular nucleus contains a central body called endosome or nucleoli. So nucleoli of apicomplexans have DNA, whereas amoeboids lack DNA in their endosome. So ciliates have micronucleus and macronucleus. So the plasma membrane encloses the cytoplasm and other locomotory projections like flagella, pseudopodia, and cilia. Some of the genera have a membranous envelope called pellicle, which gives a definite shape to the cell. So in some of the protozoans, prebiotic bacteria attach to the pellicle by their fimbriae. So the cytoplasm is differentiated into outer ectoplasm and inner endoplasm. Ectoplasm is transparent and endoplasm contains cell organelles. Some of the protozoa have cytostome for ingesting food. Food vacuoles are present, whereas ingested food comes. Ciliates have a gullet, a body cavity which opens outside. The central vacuole is present for osmoregulation that removes excess water. So membrane-bound cell organelles like mitochondria, Golgi bodies, lysosomes, and other specialized structures are present. So next characterization is nutrition. So protozoa are heterotrophic and have holozoic nutrition. So they ingest their food by phagocytosis. So some of the protozoan groups have specialized structures called cystostome for phagocytosis. So the podia of amoeboids help in catching their prey. So thousands of cilia present in ciliates drive the food-laden water into the gullet. The ingested food comes to the food vacuole and gets acted on the lysosomal enzymes. The digested food gets distributed throughout the cell. So the next classification, locomotion. Most of the protozoa species have flagella, cilia, and pseudopodia. So sporozoa, which don't have any locomotory structure, have subpellicular microtubules, which help in the slow movement. So next is the life cycle. Life cycle of most of the protozoa alternates between dormant cyst stage and proliferating vegetative stage. Like for example is trophozoites. Trophozoite. So the cyst stage can survive harsh conditions without water and nutrients. It can remain outside the host for a longer duration and get transmitted. So the trophozoite stage is infectious and they feed and multiply during this stage. So next is the reproduction. Mostly, they reproduce by asexual means. They multiply by binary fission, longitudinal fission, transverse fission, or budding. So in some of the species, sexual reproduction is present. The sexual reproduction is by conjugation, syngamy, or by gametocytes formation. So protozoa classification and examples. So protozoa is a phylum having unicellular heterotrophs. It comes under kingdom Protista. So protozoa are divided into four major groups based on the structure and the part involved in the locomotion. So first is the Mastegophora or flagellated protozoans. So they are parasites or free-living. They have flagella for locomotion. Their body is covered by a cuticle or pellicle. So freshwater forms have a contractile vacuole. Reproduction is by binary fission or longitudinal division. So for example is Trypanosoma, Trichomonas, Giardia, Leishmania, and etc. So in the picture show the example of Trypanosoma. So the structure of this are flagellum, mitochondria, so the basal body, and kinetoplast, and the nucleus. So next classification is the Sarcodina or amoeboids. So they live in the freshwater, sea, or moist soil. So the movement is by pseudopodia. They capture their prey by pseudopodia. There is no definite shape and pellicle is absent. So the contractile vacuole is present in the amoeboids living in fresh water. Reproduction is by binary fission and cyst formation. So for examples are amoeba, entamoeba, and etc. So the picture show the structure of amoeba. So the following are the part of this amoeba. So food vacuole, Pseudopodia, plasmagel, plasmasol, ectoplasm, water vacuole, contractile vacuole, and uroid. So next is the sporozoa or sporozoans. So they are endoparasitic. So they don't have any specialized organ for locomotion. The pellicle is absent, which has subpellicular microtubules. So that help in movement reproduction is by sporozoite formation. For examples are Plasmodium, Mesodyum, Nosema, Globedium, and etc. So the picture show the Plasmodium. So it has the part of this Plasmodium are mitochondria, apicoplast, microtubules, micronemi, polar rings, apical end, rhoptry, dense granules, ribosomes, merozoite coat, plasma membrane, the pellicular cisterna, and the nucleus. So the last classification of protozoa is Ciliopora or ciliated protozoans. So they are aquatic and move actively with the help of thousands of cilia. So they have fixed shape due to covering of pellicle. They may have tentacles. In the subclass Sarctoria, contractile vacuoles are present. Some species have an organ for defense called trichocysts. So they move with the help of cilia, and the movement of cilia also helps in taking food inside the gullet. So they reproduce by transverse division and also form cysts. So for examples, Paramecium, Forticilia, Balantidium, and etc. So this picture shows the structures of paramecium. So the following are the part of these examples. So contractile vacuole, radiating canals, micronucleus, macronucleus, cytoplasm, food vacuoles, anal pore, cell mouth, buccal overture, oral groove, pilical, and the cilia. So protozoan disease in humans. So most of the diseases in humans are attributed to protozoa. Protozoa induces sickness in humans when it turns into human parasites. So a majority of the prevalent and fatal diseases are caused by protozoan infections in humans such as malaria, amoebic dysentery, and African sleeping sickness. So these are capable of multiplying in humans, contributing to their survival, in enabling the development of dangerous infections from one entity only. So the transmission of protozoa found in the intestine of humans to another human usually takes place via the fecal oral path, such as through contaminated water or food or person to person contact. So those protozoa found in the tissue or blood of humans are passed to other humans by an arthropod vector. So name any two diseases caused by protozoa. So the two diseases caused by protozoans are malaria and toxoplasmosis. So the causative of malaria is a spore-forming protozoan, Plasmodium spp. And is distinguished by periodic attacks of fever. So the Toxoplasma gondii is the causative agent of toxoplasmosis, which is a spore-forming protozoan. Man can take up the infections from sheep, cats, dogs, and other animals. So what are ciliated and flagellated protozoans? So ciliated protozoans are actively moving aquatic organisms. The coordinated movement of their cilia helps in locomotion and also take food inside the gullet. So for example, paramecium. So the gallated protozoans have flagella instead of cilia. So their flagella help in locomotion and also aid in binary fission. So example is the trypanosoma. So the five diseases caused by protozoans are their symptoms. A list of 5 protozoan diseases and their symptoms are as follows. So the first diseases is the malaria. So the symptoms are fever, headache, vomiting, abdominal pain, and it may lead to fatal condition if not treated, like organ failure and convulsions. So the next diseases, the amoebiasis. So the symptoms are the abdominal pain, loose bowel movement, blood stool, loss of appetite, nausea, and fever. Next disease is the trypanosomiasis. So the symptoms are high fever, muscle and joint pain, irritability, swollen lymph nodes, skin rashes, and it If left untreated, neurological problems develop, which become fatal. So the next protozoan disease is the toxoplasmosis. So the symptoms is redness of eye, blurred vision, flu, like symptoms. So the last disease is the leishmaniasis. So the symptoms is enlarged liver and spleen, fever, and skin turns dark. So the benefits of protozoa to humans. So it helpful in sanitation. So a large number of protozoa living in polluted water feed upon waste organic matters and thus purify it. So many protozoa feed upon bacteria and play important role in the sanitary betterment and keeping water safe for drinking. So is protozoa beneficial or harmful? So most protozoa living in the environment are not harmful, except for the disease-producing protozoa that we'll talk about soon. So many types of protozoa are even beneficial in the environment because they help make it more productive. So they improve the quality of water by eating bacteria and other particles. So that's all po. Thank you.